Hi, and welcome back to my channel, Julep's Garden. I'm so happy you're here with me today. This is an exciting video I want to share with all of you. I have had a lot of projects going on this year, and it has transformed my garden into the magical garden of my dreams. I have a few clips from my garden waking up and budding up earlier this spring. I didn't get a chance to share with you, but here they are. I had some nice broccoli and some nice collards. Okay, so our first big project this year was getting a few trees cut down. If you've been following me before, you know we are heavily surrounded with trees. We get very little full sun areas, if any. The main reason we wanted to cut down this tree is because this is a Bradford pear tree. And if you know a little bit about these trees, they grow very tall and they have very weak limbs. So we've already had a few instances where the leaves had broken, and fortunately our cars were not in the driveway and it did not cause any damage, but we knew it was a matter of time. So we had out a whole team to come out and cut down this tree for us. They did a great job, and it has let in so much natural light, and at the same time has opened up all new possibilities for new gardening spaces. Another thing that I did not like about this Bradford pear was that it dropped debris all year round. And yes, it had beautiful white flowers in the spring, but frankly, it was not worth the debris and the mess it made the entire year. We also had them cut down an additional two trees that were growing really close to the house and some pine tree limbs that were growing low above the deck. The next thing on the list is trimming back these butterfly bushes. These butterfly bushes are one of my favorite plants in the garden. They get so filled with beautiful purple flowers, and they do attract lots of butterflies. I love to be out in the garden and I just have the butterflies flying around me trying to get to the butterfly bush. So normally I cut this back about 2/3 of its size. This is what it looks like afterwards, and you will be amazed by how fast this thing flushes back out. He actually responds really well to being cut back. This is the second butterfly bush, and I'm going to do the exact same thing to him. So this is the before, and this is a few weeks later. Doesn't it look amazing? You wouldn't even know how short I had trimmed it. I'm still learning with the butterfly bush, but I know that the more you trim it, the bushier it gets. However, I just couldn't cut off these new blooms. Okay, now on to my long-awaited hydrangea lane project. I had been dreaming of forming just two hedges of hydrangeas along that side of my house. I tried to grow hydrangeas in this area, but because of the dense trees, they were soaking up all the water and my hydrangeas did not do well. I ended up ordering 8 cubic yards of soil. So my plan was to build up the beds so the hydrangeas could sit up above the tree roots and hopefully have a better chance of surviving. The first thing I did was carve out my edge a little bit wider than I had before. And the second step was laying down kind of a newspaper type material. This was the yard waste bags from Lowe's or Home Depot, and I laid that down as a barrier against weeds. With a lot of my husband's help, we were able to build up the bed about 6 inches, and this was 50-50, so it's compost and topsoil. We didn't use all 8 cubic yards for this project. I had a few different projects I wanted to work on, but if I had to guess, I would say about 3 cubic yards went into the hydrangea lane. For my edging, all I did was cut into the soil with a half moon edging tool, and I used a hose to lay it down first for my shape. So next up was planting the hydrangeas. These are the endless summer bloom struck hydrangeas. So I have tried other macrophylla hydrangeas in the past, and nothing compares to the endless summer. You just don't have to worry about a late frost coming through or whatever it could be ruining your buds for the season. These will literally bloom nonstop throughout the summer. So I'm really happy with these. I got these at the end of the season at Home Depot for about $8. So if you're trying to find an affordable way to buy a lot of plants, I definitely recommend waiting towards the end of the season. A lot of these big box stores have really good sales. I ended up doing 6 on one side and 5 on the side closest to the house. I did not have that many, so I did split some of the healthier looking ones, and we added mulch to make it pretty in the end. A few weeks later, and this is where we are today. It seems like our hydrangeas are much happier than the other ones I've put in this area before. I also added some grass seed earlier this spring. As you can see, it's still coming in here. I am really happy with how this has turned out. I can't wait until these keep growing and turn into hedges on both sides. As you can tell, my hydrangeas are still two different colors, and that is just because there are different pH levels across the different areas of the dirt. However, I do plan on adding the acidifier because I absolutely love the purple blue tones. And I'll just let you enjoy the view. The next area I wanted to work on was this garden bed at the bottom of the stairs of my deck. It kind of has this little slope and I felt like it didn't really stand out. So I added some soil to it. I had these bricks from Lowe's and I built it up just slightly so that it could hold in some extra soil. I added some impatiens and I have from last year some Shasta daisies, although I feel like I will have to move these since this area doesn't get a lot of sun. I also transplanted a gardenia that I had just in the planter. I went ahead and gave it its permanent home here, and I'm so happy to see that she's happy and blooming and filled with more buds. And she also smells wonderful. And this is another area that I wanted to update. This is where I have my Annabelle hydrangeas, which are very special to me because they're from my parents' garden. And coming out of winter, it was not looking great. So I also used the same little bricks to kind of build a little elevated edge. And I filled it with more mulch. This time I used pine bark mulch. I felt that when the trees drop their debris, it kind of blends in with the mulch better. This is the back side. I used some heavy stones I already had to kind of hold up the soil. I am really so happy with the way these are looking. These hydrangeas have been some of the easiest in my opinion. They're not too picky. These probably get about 3 hours of sun and they have just grown so quickly. I've been really impressed with these. If you're a beginner with hydrangeas, I would recommend starting with the Annabelle or the smooth type hydrangea. The next area I wanted to update was this little bistro table area I did a couple years ago. As you can see, the weeds have completely overtaken all the pea gravel that I had laid out here, so it was time for a change. I removed all the pea gravel in the existing bricks and I reshaped the bed. I laid 2 layers of brick pavers this time to kind of give a more defined edge. As you can tell, I ran out of pine bark mulch, but I do plan on filling in the rest of it. And then I did a live edge on the side closest to the house. From what I can tell, live edges seem to be able to hold back weeds a little bit better from encroaching into your beds. And these are some hydrangeas that I transplanted from the original hydrangea lane that I had attempted to start a few years back. These had actually done really well and they bloom a deep blue color, so I'm really excited to see how it looks once they're nice and big. And I added these caladiums for a little pop of color on the bistro table. Before we go, I wanted to share some things that have been blooming in my garden this spring. This is my peony. I'm so excited to see her bloom. I have patiently been waiting. The first year I put her in the ground, she dropped all her buds. The second year, she gave me 2 buds and they dried up. And this is the third year, and I finally got to enjoy these beautiful, beautiful blooms. And I wanted to show you my cabbages. This is the first year I grow them, and they were just so beautiful. They didn't form tight heads. I think it was because they didn't get enough sun, or I didn't do the best with my watering this season. Nonetheless, I enjoyed it, and this is my lettuce. However, this was the last year that I'll be growing veggies in those beds. I have another exciting video coming where I show you my brand new kitchen garden. It is the kitchen garden of my dreams, and I have all the details coming soon. So make sure you subscribe and like so you don't miss it.